Good day to you wherever you're watching me from. My name is Dr. Nathaniel Umilani. I'm a lecturer in the Department of Science and Technology Education, University of Ibadan, Oyo State, Nigeria. And in this video, I'm saying Happy New Year. This is the new video, the first video of the year 2026. And I want you to love, like, subscribe to my channel, Isuntere TV. Isuntere means something that drops gradually to form the little drops of water that forms a big ocean. Um, in this video, I will be talking about the effective supervisor-supervisee relationship. And in this presentation, the first thing I will talk about is the various models of supervision and practical strategy to foster successful relationship between postgraduate students and their supervisor, and ultimately leading to greater academic achievements and personal growth. Within the frames of this discussion, I believe that we are all aware that one of the things that always happen in any postgraduate program is that the postgraduate student will have a supervisor, and they will have several encounters from the start of the program till graduation. And one of the factors that has been attributed to attrition of postgraduate students over the years is the strain that comes into the relationship supervisors have with their supervisor. So I want to start by saying that why is it that the supervisor-supervisee relationship matters? Number one, for the purpose of productivity and completion. Without a strong relationship between the supervisor and the supervisee, chances are very high that there could be attrition or neglect of the program. And the timely completion and timely research progress and successful thesis completion is actually associated with that relationship. Another fact why it matters is that the motivation and creativity of the supervisor and the supervisee, um, most especially for the students, the supervisor's supportive environment boosts the student's morale. It encourages innovative thinking and deeper engagement. Uh, the supervisor, as it were, will be able to the student will be able to learn a great deal from the supervisor, as well as all the then the emotional well-being of the student, you know, depends on the relationship between the supervisor and the supervisee. When the relationship is smooth, the supervisee will be able to work in a way that there is reduced stress, and there will be a positive research experience between them. And finally, the supervisor-supervisee relationship actually fosters a very good feedback, as it were, between the supervisor and the supervisee. So there's a channel of communication that enhances the quality of research, because it is the corrective feedback that the supervisors gives to the supervisee that determines the quality of the uh, personal development and the completed thesis or dissertation, as it were. And I would love to explore key supervision models. We have the four types that is known to literature: the directive supervisory model, collaborative, Laissez-faire, and the supportive. I will be going into these details in the course of this video. But I would love you to start by reflecting on these 2 points. Most of the time, most supervisors, they usually supervise students based on the model they actually experience from their supervisor. They too were once a supervisee, and they are likely to give interventions that are similar to what they had when they were students to their uh, to their supervisees. When you have a supervisee or a supervisor who is supervised by through the model that is directive, is likely to use that same model. If it's a collaborative model he or she is also likely to experience to give that type of model in the course of the supervision of his or her own students. And if it's laissez-faire model, we have laissez-faire model, we have the supportive, they are likely to use it. But come to think of it, there is no harm in all the models. It depends on the supervisee. For example, let's start with the directive relationship. This person gives clear instruction. That's one thing. The person will tell you what to do. He will tell you when you are to turn it back. He will give you literature to go and read. He will give you link. He or she will give you referral. The supervisor will give referral. He will give, and he will be in control of the process. At times, the person may write directly into your correction how some things should be written. And it is very, very good to use this approach for maybe undergraduate students writing final year projects and maybe master students, because it is having so much of structure and control over the supervisor. There is clear guidelines and expectation. It is helpful for beginner and that needs strong guidance. But here is the challenge. If somebody who has a student, a postgraduate student, for example, you have a poor supervision as undergraduates, and you are yet to have the autonomy, is the prowess for independent scholarship, and and your supervisor assume that no, they don't have to use directive because you are a PhD student now, maybe with another person. That's a problem. I enjoyed this directive relationship as an undergraduate with my supervisor in the University of Lagos, a professor now, Professor Lano. And I can say that um, my supervisor gave me guidelines and expectation. She actually helped me a great deal, and that foundation was good for me. But it also has its demerit, because this over reliance and limited independent thinking limits how independent a scholar can be. So it is not a model of supervision that higher degree students should expect, but this is what many people enjoy and what they expect and what they love. And this causes frustration. This is better for students who are in undergraduate level. The next model is collaborative, which is the most uh, suitable. In a collaborative model, both supervisor and the student engage in shared decision making. You know, they fostering mutual respect, equal partnership in research journey. This approach encourages innovation and active participation. So both people, oh, what do you want to do? You know, that directive one, the person will say, go and do this. But this one will ask, what do you want to do? This is the best model for uh, higher degree students, maybe a master's and maybe some PhD, depending on the um, you know the area the person in. And this particularly also encourages innovation and critical thinking. Requires strong, but the challenge is that you must have talk time. That means the supervisor and the supervisee must have time that they can talk. Uh, what if that talk time is not available? Is going to be a frustration for both of them, as it were. Uh, the next one is laissez-faire relationship. This model offers minimal direct guidance, and the students have a high degree of autonomy in their research. This is the type that I experienced when I was a doctoral student as well as a master's student. It suits advanced students who thrive on independence but carries a risk of isolation if not managed carefully. What I mean is that uh, the supervisor I had believes that you go and read literature, then we discuss the literature together. Immediately we agree on topic, you begin to do your thing. And when you bring it, the person will just do a minimal correction, tell you where to go and read. You will not see my supervisor, uh, late Professor Adesoji, uh, giving his direct intervention in a way that will be like you are being spoon fed, but it allows you to do all you want to do. So you have so much of autonomy. Uh, it is suitable for experienced and self-motivated students. So what I'm saying is that the intellectual capacity of a student will determine whether this particular approach is actually suitable. Students who are weak may not be able to enjoy this type of supervision. And most supervisors, as they get busy with academic work, they are always moving towards this because the time for communication like we had in the collaborative relationship is actually minimal. So there's chances that uh, when the hands are busy, most supervisor moves towards this particular approach. And the risk is that it has the potential of feeling of isolation or lack of direction. But if the student is very strong and he could go through literature, because there is nothing that you are doing that is new, you know. When you go through literature and you see that which literature has said, the way literature does it, it could actually help you in the work. And the last one is the supportive relationship model, whereby there is so much emotional and professional mentoring with regular check-in focused on student well-being and long-term development. This fosters resilience and persistence. This particular type of supervision is always offered by people who see their relationship with their supervisor as a lifetime relationship, not for the purpose of making money out of them or the future benefit out of them, but they just want to have a protege that will be a good representation of them. The first one, which is direct and is supportive, is always the desire of many students, but it's not every time you get them. So each supervision model influences research output differently. Choosing the right fit can significantly enhance student trajectory. For instance, when somebody is experiencing this directive uh, model, that student is likely to finish early because it leads to rapid initial progress most of the time. You know, the challenge is that that particular student creativity will be uh, under the shadow of the supervisor's creativity and genuinity in some cases. You know, the other one, which is the collaborative, where there is shared expertise and critical feedback to evaluate research. The end product is high quality research, you know, you know. So, and the third one, which is the laissez-faire laissez-faire fair model, is that the you can see, I told you that the directive approach, this one does not allow the ingenuity, creativity of the researcher, because what we are seeing is the direction in the thesis that the supervisor wants the supervisee to go. But here, there is so much of, if the student is very good, there is a likelihood that the research that they will come out with will be groundbreaking. The ingenuity of the learner, of the supervisee, the postgraduate student, the higher degree student will show, although there may be the significant delays. And if the student that this model is used for is a weak student, there is also likely to be an attrition, you know. And this supportive one gives the opportunity for sustained output. There is emotional backing and momentum that is maintained over time. Now, a common complaint of students is that my supervisor is not reading my work. I submit drafts and weeks go by without feedback. So much of frustration. It is incredibly frustrating and demoralizing. Understanding why this happens. While this experience is disheartening, it is often rooted in multifaceted demand placed on academic supervisor. From the Nigerian context, which I am speaking of, most of the time, the teaching responsibility, the administrative responsibility, the personal research commitment, this responsibility of often leave limited time for in-depth reading and feedback, creating bottleneck that affect student progress. So uh, you discover that in some places, a supervisor will have maybe two master students and one PhD student. But because of limited supervisors and staff in some university in Nigeria, we discover that a single uh, scholar may have five, six, seven, eight PhD students, and we have maybe like 10, 6 master students, have undergraduate students. So you cannot expect the same person to use a very good approach because the student teacher ratio is very high. But if your supervisor is not reading your work, I want to give some suggestions now. Number one, you could actually ensure that your work is clearly structured and in a very good organization of that work, so that when they are reading it, when your supervisor reads um, one or two sentences, it will be very difficult. Outside, I was pursuing a postdoctoral study in South Africa sometimes ago. I was applying, and the my supervisor to be went told me to write. I was an early career researcher at that time, and my writing has not improved significantly because uh, although I already had a PhD. So when I wrote the first draft of mine, the person commented back that he is not she is not expected to help me write. Rather, I should ensure that I read my work myself, that I had already passed PhD level, that I'll be supervised, you know. So the point is that while you are on the journey of writing well, you could also learn to write and also read. There are many AI tools that could help you read and make comments before you give it. Because when the person read the first two sentences and there is no agreement, there is structural problem, there will be problem. The next is concise and well written. Your supervisor have limited time, so let your writing be concise. You know, let it don't have many of unclear prose and all of those things. The next thing I want to talk about is that let the focus, the research question be clear and help your supervisors. For instance, you could have two chapter ones if time permits you. The first one where you will be discussing in details, and the second one may be an abridged one, and give them the two. You know, the next thing is that you should have realistic timeline uh, to assess potential bottlenecks. An achievable timeline shows you have thought through the practicalities of your project and allows supervisor to assess the progress and potential. Those are so I want to just give or I'm giving further tips. You know, another thing that will make your supervisor read your work is that, let's say your supervisor has commented on your previous drafts and you are returning a new one. It is good to highlight what you have already achieved before you submit. Some people, they will just submit the big draft, the second draft again. Why not do a summary as though you are trying to write to a journal body and say, oh, thank you for your correction in the first draft that I collected on so and so dates. Based on the comments in the draft, here are the summary of the correction and the action taken so far. You could also indicate the pages where you have done it, such that the person will not have to start reading all over again because it's the same idea. So he can just go to the part. You can even if you are doing online correspondence through soft copy, you could color code those parts and see what you have done. On page 17, I have changed the theoretical framework as you have recommended or corrected. On page 30, I have drawn a new model, The next thing is that, with this laptop that is available, many postgraduate students usually type their work themselves and the formatting does not look professional. So if you lack that skill, after you are done with the typing, you could give it to somebody who has a better uh, formatting skills than you, or pay somebody so that it will show very well and the work will have a very good face validity. A well-defined manageable scope prevents overwhelming both you and your supervisor, ensuring the project remains feasible and targeted. So let your work have a focused scope. You are going there, you want to do this, you want to do, and you have been corrected. Let the scope be focused. Now, the next thing that makes your supervisor to read your work is that you outline the next steps uh, or specific question or for your supervisors guys their feedback. For your supervisor guys their feedback, making their input more direct and helpful for your continuum. So let your actionable next step be shown. I want to design an instrument now and I intend to do this. Write it there. You know, it is very important. Now, I want to show you few steps to cultivate independence. In case you are in a situation whereby you are sure that you are alone, maybe your supervisor is using the third model, there are steps you can take. Um, the first step is to develop ability to work autonomously. So because for instance, the area I worked upon um, was novel in within the frame of my geographical location. And what I just did was that I went online and I downloaded theses in Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard, and some well-known university that are doing those same thing. So I know that the standards there are high and they are my guide. So even if I don't have so much of supervision, I remembered also I went outside my university to speak to an expert in that field. We had a detailed conversation. I remember the name of the professor is Professor Abimbola, University of Ilorin. Then conceptual change, and we had a meeting. I remember somewhere in Tanke, Ilorin, Kwara State. I went from Ibadan, and we had a very rich conversation that enriched my work. You know, so um, that is very important. Now, the next thing is that uh, attempt to be proactive and problem solving. That means before you go to your supervisor, look for other sources of solving the problem. The point is that you are earning a doctoral degree of a particular faculty, and there are other members of faculty who may be less busy. Some of them may be previous students of your supervisor, past students of your supervisor, or they may not be. You could actually talk to them, you know, through research, thorough research before asking. You can see that's what I did. Before I asked question from anybody, I'd gone through several literature online to actually see what is obtainable. You know, very very important. Uh, the next thing is to maintain what I call detailed documentation. That means you must keep records of your progress, methodologies, and findings. So when you document it well, it will make your super work easier and it will make your supervisor read it. Now, when you have needs, and questions, it is good for you to communicate it clearly so that your supervisor will have understanding of it. You know, another thing is you have to respect your supervisor's time. It is not every time you walk in into your supervisor and you have question in mind about your work that you will always discuss it. You must be able to read the moment. Some people believe that their supervisor is just like an ATM machine. It's like an ATM. Let me say it. It's like an ATM, automatic teller machine, whereby when they get to the supervisor, they will just insert their needs and for instance, when your supervisor just come from a faculty meeting and he's saying, I've not eaten all day, and he's talking about his other issues, it is important for you to swallow that which you want to say, and you may not talk about your work until they are the one to asking you what brought you. Read the moment. Some people feel that, oh, perhaps they are traveling from another state. Definitely, they must talk about their work. I remembered when I was a doctoral student, I was in Ogun State. I will be coming to Oyo State in Nigeria to do my work with my supervisor. And at times I will just travel and my supervisor will say we are on this grant with my committee and we have this challenge with this literature. I would say, okay, let me just help you with that. I would no longer talk about my work anymore. The context of my conversation is for those of us who are being supervised with, because I've not enjoyed supervision in the African context, as it were. But the point I'm trying to make is within the context of supervision for those of us who are being supervised outside of this uh, context. Now, the next thing is that you have to develop critical thinking skills, you know, uh, cultivate the ability to critically evaluate your own work, be your own supervisor, read it, put marks in it. The next thing is that build your own support network. For instance, it may even be in your place of work and you can have somebody who is ahead of you as a PhD. You may look at what they want to do. Then the final one is to take ownership of your learning. Now, another challenge students have is when their supervisor delay seminar presentation. You have somebody who has spent 5 years, 4 years, and the person has not made one presentation. You know, it is always a concern to doctoral students that why is my presentation delayed? And the first thing is to understand the concern of your supervisor. Most of us in African countries and Africans generally, our supervision, as it were, does not. What I mean is that our culture does not allow that type of inquiry because of the power play uh, to inquire that what did I do wrong? What should I do? Some people may not be open to it, but if there is peers that are trusted you could talk to, this concern, some supervisor they will not even nobody can talk to them. In that situation, it is very, very difficult. Now, if there is a delay, strengthen your work. If the delay is due to concern about your work and you know the error inside those work, you understand, dedicate time to refine the work. You know, I was speaking to a higher degree student few weeks ago, and I said that you told us that you are ready for a seminar in September, and the schedule of seminar does not permit you at that time. But eventually, when you did the seminar in late December, or early December or late November, that delay did not show that you did any improvement. I think the delay should make you to do a better work. Then don't number three, avoid uh avoid generic questioning. Be specific about your feedback. That means what exactly needs improvement about this work. that will not make it to be delayed. So this will demonstrate your level of commitment to meet their expectation as supervisors. The next thing I would love to talk about is that you have to propose a timeline with your supervisor, showing that, oh, this is what you can do together within the space of time. Okay, can I come back in 2 months' time? I would have done this and does that. The next thing is to demonstrate readiness. You know, you know, when you ask that, can I come and rehearse my presentation? What do you have to say about the improvement? Then the next thing is that when your seminar is being delayed, another thing is that you can seek alternative perspective with your supervisor's permission or without his permission. You can seek other faculty member to seek their input on your work and give you a fresh perspective that can identify overlooked areas for improvement. I enjoyed this when I was a doctoral student. I always seek other faculty members, others than my supervisor, and seek their perspective, as it were. Document your progress. You know, whenever you are making progress, make sure it's documented. Oh, that we have done this 4 months ago. You document it. Then you could engage in peer review with your colleagues. That means those people who are students like you could actually give them your work to read to boost your confidence and readiness. In some cases, if all avenues are exhausted, you may choose to escalate the challenge of delays such that your institution, the postgraduate school, the postgraduate school, the graduate office, the departmental head will be aware all that you have done and what you can, so that they would help you not to waste time as well as resources. Imagine paying school fees for 5 years and not getting anything out of it. Another one is because the point is that the supervisor-supervisory relationship is not by force. When you work with somebody for 5 years, 2, 3 years, you may say the supervisor has the power to say he's no longer working with them and get another person to actually work with them in the process. Another thing is to maintain professional communication during the process of the delay. I hope with this particular video, you've learned one or two things that will help you to navigate the problem of supervision. And I would like to see you liking the videos that we have done on our channel. Thank you and have a great day.